late bloomers coming up, trying to chase people. And then you got the other guys that are just the have it early. It's also important to say it's hard for them, whether they want to take on that, I guess, position or role to stay the best, or do they kind of eventually collapse to, it's hard to be the best all the time and not collapse into that types of pressure where the underdogs and the late bloomers have, less pressure and no pressure to continue inching because, it's like, oh, Kurt Fraser, if he's just a top 30 player in I don't know whether it was the league or Vancouver for his birth year, like who knows? It kind of doesn't matter. And then if you're inching your way up, you're going to be talked about a lot. You're the underdog story that I would say most people are.
Yeah, because you get to juniors, no one cares. No one cares. They're just going to look at you and take the best player. That's just what it is, right? There's no favors. There's no politics. There's no coaches. Like you're either good enough or you're not. It's a business, like you said. It's a business. So they're taking the best players, right? And that's what people have to remember. It's like, what are you doing today to, hone that your son's confidence, and what are their coaches saying to them, right? Like thinking of actually where's the best place for my son to play right now. Just because it's not, tier one or whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as you're fostering the dream and giving him the goals, even if he doesn't be a hockey player, it's like you said, even if you're not a hockey player and he learns how to work and he learns how to set goals and then set process to get those goals, like everything like that's going to translate into your life. So we're still doing a job as a coach and as a mentor, right? We're still doing the right things, because I look at my financial life now as a working a real job. Like I tell people sometimes, well, I've only had a job for 5 years, because that's true. I honestly, hockey, I wasn't working. Like that was just hockey. And right. Now all of a sudden I have to get a job, and I've had one for 5 years. People have had jobs my age for 18 years, and I've had one for 5. Like it's mind boggling. But, when you're only worked for 5 years, like I'm like a 25-year-old in, right. in the working world, so I make mistakes and I do things like that. But, my work ethic is second to none. And that's from hockey. It's not from anywhere else. It's always from hockey. And, I don't remember who wrote it, but my dad just gave me this book. I was probably 10. I probably couldn't even read the book, but the cover just said "Dream Big Dreams," and I still do it now. And for financial dreams, like for my life and my family, and for my wife, like my wife's a wedding photographer, self-employed, like awesome business to be a mom. And and I put the same hockey beliefs into her. I remember we were in Austria, and we had our pictures taken by a photographer, and she's like, "Well, I could do that." And I'm like, "Well, why don't you do that?" And she's like, "Oh no, I can't." And I'm like, "Yeah, you can. Why can't you? Like, we're not doing anything. Let's go buy a camera, and then you can." She was in the U.S. Air Force, and she went basically to photography school for 2 years, so she actually knew what she was doing. But she just never thought she could do it. Right? Small town Kansas, joins the military, and then all of a sudden I'm saying like, "Yeah, you can." And she's just like, no, you're crazy. And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go get a camera, and then you can just start." Like was totally my mindset. Like, if you want to do it, you can do it. And that's how I build my players, my Sturgeon kids, HPL kids. Like, if you want that, you can do that. Like, you 100% can do that. And I believe that you can. So if we're going to do it, let's do it.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, let's do it. If it's not the ones that are kind of pretending or a little bit flaky, that's not in anything.
No.
You've got to have the same mindset and the people willing to do what it takes to work. I mean,
are you going to play Fortnite tonight, or are you going to shoot pucks? I don't care. Does not matter to me at all. No, not one bit. You can play Fortnite till you're blue in the face, but you're not going to be a hockey player if you don't go shoot pucks and you're playing Fortnite. The only thing you're getting better at today is Fortnite. Right? So, and I say that all the time now, because all the kids know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Like, who got it? Right? And I've never played Fortnite. I'm sure it's great because they all love it. But, I'm not much of a video game guy. Because why? Because I was always playing hockey and trying to get better. Right? And there's definitely a difference. So Yeah, no, man. Trying to think of anything else I forgot to
Yeah,
say.
I was just gonna say thank you very much for coming on, and anything else you would like to add for sure. It's been an awesome little video podcast and some great info.
Yeah, it's kind of a broad questions, right? And I can go on a tangent, as you can tell, but it just comes to passion. Like I'm passionate about about hockey. I'm passionate about shaping children. It's almost like I have to give back because hockey gave me so much that I feel this need that I have to give back. Like I want to have those conversations. I want to tell people when I was 15, I was 5'6" and top 50 in Lower Mainland. Like I want to tell people that. I don't know what my career was at 82 age group in Lower Mainland. I don't know, maybe top five. You know, I wasn't number five at 15. I wasn't at 16. I sure as heck wasn't at 19. So somewhere along the way, 23, 24, after all those guys stopped, I started to go up the totem pole,
Right.
you know? So, I mean, yeah, it's a journey. It's a war of attrition. Like how long can you hang? And, it's not for the faint of heart. So if you're a kid listening to this, I don't care if you're A1, A2, A3, like you can do it. And if you put your mind to it, you can do it. And if someone tells you can't, just hold on to that. Right. Because I was paying back guys for years of what they're telling me I couldn't do,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what it's about. Right.
I'm sure there's other guys that do that. I'm sure as well. And you got that memory bank or it's in your written. That's the piss and vinegar that
Yeah,
athletes and competitors need.
exactly. So I try to find that. And I mean, other than that, yeah, I'm trying to put that into, I have this theory that like you can teach kids how to work. They just have to be very young. And I'm seeing it now with like some of the kids I started with at 5 years old that if they get into the right place where they're shown what work ethic is, they actually come out of it faster. Because if I was being honest with myself, I would say I knew how to work hard, but I didn't actually know the lengths of of that work ethic. And I remember going to Calgary. It was my first NHL camp, and I went in, and Jerome McGinley was on the treadmill. So I walk into their room into Calgary. I drop my bag off, and then I go into the gym. And they said, just go, have a spin. I'm going to have a spin before we go on the ice. I look, and Jerome McGinley was full on running, like with no shirt on, just shorts. And he was full on sprinting. Right. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't work out hard enough this summer. And I knew right then, like that I was not making that team and I was going to get cut, which is fine. I probably was going to get cut anyway. I was young. And that's when I started to see like how hard these guys work to get there, and people don't realize it. And I'll even say to the dub guy, like, you think, like I'm talking to you and I'm telling you how hard you have to work. And you think, you don't, because they don't, they have no idea.
And one thing I'd like to share up on that too, that's a great story. Even a mentor moment that you may not even had interaction with Jerome McGinley, but right there, right when you see a superstar uh, player like that, probably even in his mid of his career, that you know that's what it takes. Just looking at him, that's what it takes.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, like I could go on all day about like little stuff like that, like being a good person. Like people forget that. Like you look at Sidney Crosby. I remember we were playing a white and black game in Wilkes-Barre Scranton in their farm team, and we're getting on the bus, and Crosby. We were sitting on the bus waiting for Crosby. He signed autographs for an hour. An hour. They didn't want mine. We were, and we're sitting on the bus, and no one said a word because they know that he's going to sign all his autographs because that's what he has to do. That's part of his job. That's part of him giving back. That's part of him being a good person and giving these people time. Like that's important, right? Like being a good teammate and a good person is so important. And probably why I stayed in the American League as long as I did, because you're a good teammate, you're a good person. You know, people want that too.
oh, especially in the business world. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no time for people that that aren't good teammates and that stuff. Like the time leads to, I don't know how you'd say it, success, and then also I guess you'd say in the financially of the business part, right? If things aren't adding up to that, that final goal, then there's always lots of changes.
For sure.
Um, but yeah, I think it was great to have you on there, Kurt, and share your stories and all that stuff, whether it was from passion, work ethic, shooting pucks, scoring goals, all that stuff. It's huge for these players to learn from, and hopefully they're gonna be tuning in. Just to conclude, I guess, so Kurt Fraser, he runs and owns the Fraser Valley Sturgeon in Langley, BC. One of the directors in the HPL, high performance level hockey, for the younger ages. And yeah, he played BCHL and 50 goal scorer, college, Alaska Fairbanks, NCAA, and in the AHL and also overseas. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, man.